All right, John. We made it, brother. We made it. We real quick. Of all the spring games you've been to, best weather ever? Best weather I've ever been to. The last few years, rain and sleet, wind, rain and sleet, a little of everything. What a joy to be out there today with all these fine, always Irish, Goolsby and Kennedy. Just a little bit of crowd. Well, thanks y'all for being here, brother. It's time to pull this thing off. Okay. But no, I was telling you leading into this thing, I was like, the weather's going to be unbelievable. You said, don't jinx it. Did you learn anything from the game? Did you have any takeaways?
It's one of the big questions I have for you is, and first off, shout out to especially all of these people, all the tailgate people, everybody that helps us set up, take down, everybody. Give yourself a round of applause. Seriously, great crowd. Appreciate everybody coming out to the tailgate supporting us. I love all of you guys, especially the people that help volunteer to put it all together. Couldn't do any of it without you. One of my big questions for you is, with the limitations physically on this football team, after the hangover of the longest Notre Dame season we've ever had, how much could get accomplished this spring and how much could get accomplished in this game? I'll defer to you as the former captain linebacker at the linebacker, by the way. Shout out to them for hosting.
We made it.
We got the linebacker back at the linebacker. You can't beat that. I want to know how much could get accomplished this spring and how much you think did, including this game, but not limited to this game.
Yeah, there's lots to talk about. I think this game in particular, watching it, I was blown away at the physicality. And there's been a lot of hits, a lot of a lot of short clips kind of leading up to this, Notre Dame media. And in particular, describe yourself in 3 words to all the players. And to a man, all of one, violent. They all said it. And watching this spring game, incredibly violent. Like, the kids were having fun. I was hanging out with a couple former teammates this weekend, and I'm just blown away at how fresh the kids looked. Again, coming off the back of the season that they had, but it just speaks to the youth and the depth. But those kids today, they were having fun.
Yeah, they were having fun out there. And the thing that I noticed is there's a different level of intensity with the Freeman era and the guys they're bringing in. They have a little edge to them.
No doubt.
That's different. And much needed. And an edge we feel like we've been missing. And these guys have an edge. And I think Freeman and his staff are doing a good job identifying guys that play with that edge, that little violent extra you talk about. And you did see it today. And I like, even in a spring game, when guys are making hits and they're getting out celebrating like it's a game, those are little things that matter to me that I notice.
And it's interesting because you know what? You know, as a player, you're being critiqued. You're being evaluated in an environment like this. But I don't think you saw any sort of that, I call it play anxiety. You didn't see any of the play anxiety from the young kids. Again, it was just spin your ears back. Of course, I'm a defensive guy. It was like just spin your ears back and make plays. And have fun. It doesn't feel like watching those kids play at the context of the competition, the stakes at hand matter today. It was just having fun.
Yeah. And, you know, here's a question I was thinking about.
Hey, real quick, cheers, by the way, brother.
Cheers. Go ahead. There's a skill shot for you. One of the things I was thinking about is, you're the limited format today.
Yeah.
We've had limited formats before, but this one kept it more and more limited to the point where the format, you couldn't even really understand what, the point totals.
Yeah.
The 7-on-7, it seemed like they had to be cautious because of the physical limitations.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much to take away. At the end of the day, we'll probably break down the film. There's not much to take away, but this was for the fans. And like I said, there was an opportunity for the kids to go out and play. There's still 4 more practices to follow, come to find out. But I think a lot of the haze in the barn, talking to the young men last night, they had the Explorer thing. It's a ton of fun.
Yeah.
As far as like defense, they haven't even installed their base defense yet. So this is a skeleton operation. And again, it's just a chance to go out and, let your hair down and have some fun.
Yeah. And
John, quarterbacks.
Oh, boy. What if I said the most impressive thing the quarterbacks did was getting into do it when she did a full flip? Is that pointed? I know they get the 10 pound out. I hope you got it. What is that telling you? That flip, he's trying to show something. He's trying to show off. Look at the athlete I am. Who else on this team is going to have the confidence to land that flip?
And you're sitting there going, how do we judge these quarterbacks? By the way, had an amazing conversation with Den Rock last night. Amazing conversation.
Get him liquored up and all the truth came out or what?
He was drinking Mick Ultras, so we'd have to drink a lot of them. To your point, yeah, I think that backup is an opportunity. Like, here's something else I could do, and it shows the athleticism. I've never been able to do a backflip. I can tell you, Jelly can't do a backflip. So, but no, it was fun, and it's absolutely going to be part of the storyline. Here's also for putting yourself out.
Yeah, listen, that is really putting yourself out there, and that's a risk. Because if you fall and you bust her, it's now in quarterback doing backflips. It's interesting. It's great if you land it. And if you land wrong and you snap your shit, it's no longer great. So, but I'm looking at the confidence to know I'm going to land that thing. I was impressed. I just like the athleticism.
It's very demonstrative of the athleticism, but I think it's clear at this point. It's a two-man race, brother.
And the two men to you are the two younger guys.
1,000%. And I've been saying for a long time, the best thing for the program is what, John? Say it for me.
You've been saying it forever. The best thing for everybody would be if Steve, the guy we all respect and love, left.
Hashtag Steve may leave.
And
hashtag Steve may leave.
But I want to be clear when we have this discussion that it's not anything against him. It's not against him. It's for the future. It's nothing against him, but it's about a higher ceiling of athleticism of what's capable and possible at that position at Notre Dame. And I think we're ready for that. This program is mature enough to a point where I think you could take the risk, roll the dice on one of the younger guys, build around that, and have a higher ceiling.
I think that's it's not even worth debating, and that the program, the team, the defense in particular, all of the moving pieces are set in place that you could weather a rookie mistake, a young quarterback mistake. I think it's inarguable. Frankly, I really do. And then talking to Coach Denbach last night, because John, I was asking him, first question out of the box, like, what is the criteria for the competition?
Yep.
And he really just talked about strengths. So, like, focus on your strengths, highlight your strengths, play to your game. And when we're talking about the two young kids in CJ and Kenny, I think they have more strengths. They have more things to lean into than that does at Angelica.
The way I look at this is, how willing is this staff to embrace risk? And what I mean by that is,
I always talk about that calculation.
I always talk about the calculation of the willingness of them to risk. And by risk, I mean the two young guys have way less experience. You have a really tough front out of the schedule. You start in that dump in Miami. Well, when we play there, it's the only time it's going to be filled up. You got A&M. The first 6 games are tough. How willing is this staff to roll the dice, trust the total team around those quarterbacks to support him through their rookie learning curve and win anyways?
Well, I think, that environment's going to be off the chain. Can we get going back to the calculation conversation? I want to be steady-handed as Steve Angelica. What do you want a potential playmaker if something were to break out? Yeah, if something were to break out. So that's a risk that, an evaluation never have to make.
Yeah, the other question I have is, with the experience, Steve, with the experience, I don't think it's that much experience. And I'm going to calculate that. How much experience, really? I that's just how I see it. And so, here's the big question now. I think that quarterback thing it's not settled, which means we're getting all the way through the summer months And the first couple weeks of August camp, I think are going to be chaotic because you're going to have to name a starter, figure out a starter, get that line back in one piece. I predict chaos the first 2 weeks of camp while you're figuring all these details out. I don't see any other way around it.
No, I think it'll be a little bit less chaotic on a two-man competition in terms of
that helps.
I mean, it's hard to, like, you have a three-headed monster that's hard to, like, make sure you're getting equal reps. And so you can really laser focus on these two kids if it comes down to a two-man race. I mean, I think that's obvious. So yeah, we'll see what happens post spring, but you can't take a three-man competition and summer camp. I think that's unrealistic.
Yeah, it's just too much. And I guess would you be bold enough to predict maybe one of these guys hits the transfer portal? Maybe Steve.
That's what I'm saying, John.
But you think it's that real that if he knows he's 30, hit that well?
Things that Steve Angel's been through. He wasn't a Marcus recruit. He wasn't a Ben Brock recruit. I mean, the guy's better than a fucking Ranger, dude. So I'm Steve. If he's not named the starter, we're the guy taking off. He deserves to play. He just stayed out here, so I think it makes too much sense. I mean, if I was advising Steve, that's what my advice would be. Yeah. And he's not having a great spring.
And I do admit, on a human, personal level, it's got to be frustrating for Steve to be here this many years, and they keep bringing in a transfer guy, and another transfer guy, and he keeps getting kind of jumped in the line. But at the same time, that's all the game's playing.
Yes. I mean, it's the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the beast. So, yeah. I mean, I'm not in Angeli's camp. I'm not part of Angeli's army, but I think it's entirely realistic to say that, yeah, he might hit the road. And again, there's no player, no backup quarterback is bigger than the program. It is what it is.
I heard a little rumor, Mike. And the rumor I heard was CJ Carr maybe hanging out with the offensive lineman a little bit. More than the other quarterbacks. Maybe CJ's hanging out with the starting a little more around campus. Do you read anything into that, or is that just like for drama and for clicks?
I've heard Tom Brady tell many stories about going out for beers with the O-linemen, mixing in a water or two, of course. You got to mix in a water, drinking with 300-pounders. But like I said, a kid like CJ that was watching film in utero, in the room, the kid was watching film. We grew up around the game. And to our point, this competition lives outside of practice. You understand? It lives outside of practice. So, your GPA, all of these little things are going to add up over time. So if CJ Carr's hanging out with the O-lineman, that's going to give him an edge, and it's a creative way of just doing a little bit extra. It's brilliant.
Brilliant. It is. And you know what it makes me think about? The Carr name, growing up in football your whole life with when we talk about the inexperience with him, it's inexperience on the field playing, but his football cognizance is got to be at a higher level.
He's born to do this.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yeah, I think it's inarguable.
Yeah, it's so.
But again, all the pressure that's on a CJ Carr, and to do what he did today, threw a back, but again, get used to it, folks. Young quarterbacks are going to make dumb mistakes, but for him, the weight of the world is on that kid. A lot of Notre Dame fans think the kid walks up one. And there's a ton of pressure, and I thought he came out today with that pressure and performed very well.
Yeah, I thought he did a lot of good things. I thought all those guys made some plays though, but again, it's so limited. Here's the question. How much from this one game, scrimmage, practice, 7-on-7, whatever it is, how much can you take away from that and apply it to the big picture? Because it was so limited. This is one little snapshot in all of spring and all of the data. How much can we responsibly take out of what we saw today?
Well, it's not a matter of what we take away from it, right? It's the responses from fans will probably be a little bit over. It's just, I think you have to kind of look at it through the lens of a coach. This is just one more practice. And there just happen to be fans in the stadiums. And then, like Marcus always talks about, just continue with some improvement. It's just a step. Like I said, I think ideally you're going into the remainder of the offseason. It's a two-man race.
Yeah, I think I agree. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Steve if he makes a decision. Well, man, if we go into camp and it's a two-man battle and it's the two young guys, that is exciting. I love that.
The conversation around the two quarterbacks, it's endless. I can still talk about the best in the program. Let's make it. It's clear. It's clear. The two young kids, the edge in terms of God-given ability. It's night and day, dude. It's night and day. We let them do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like if you got a two-man competition with all the young guys, it's going to excite everybody. It'll be interesting to see when that O-line gets whipped back together, Mike. That's another piece of this. If you're going to go over Miami with a young quarterback, the best thing you can do to support a young quarterback in the Miami environment, where those people are going to be out of their minds, is to have an O-line put together. And we know it takes time to gel. We don't have time to gel, buddy. We got to be ready right away.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about what that podcast. I still think there's some moving pieces on that. Irby Lambert injury. God, he's a big son of a bitch, by the way. Being on the field. Not so much. Nap is not a big. He's not a big boy. But I think there's still some wrinkles to be ironed out on the offensive line. I really do.
Here's a question that I've been playing on with my own brain. How unrealistic is it like that Will Black can come in here not as an early enrollee and walk in the door and earn a spot and play against Miami? Is that a fan thing we say because he's a big guy and he has all the action?
No, there's multiple precedents. Hulk Fisher, Joe all these kids. Fisher started as a true freshman at Florida State. There's absolutely a precedent. And I'm just telling you, the type of bodies that are in that offensive line room, that doesn't necessarily fit. And Wagner doesn't necessarily fit. So Will Black's a 6'8", 310-pound freshman with great technique. I would pencil it in, especially with the Irby Lambert being hurt now. The likelihood of Will Black playing, it's just that much more realistic.
Yeah.
Today.
There is precedent for it. I just don't want to put that on a kid that just shows up about June and then to be ready to hit my own little office.
That's all that's maybe not Miami. But, like a Nap, we all know Nap is probably better served. That plays in the NFL, which you know he's going to play inside. So he can do both, but Will Black's not going to play inside. So eventually I think he'll find his way out to left tackle and hold it down for a couple of years.
Do you have any anxiety that these injuries and everything are going to...
I have no anxiety. I was talking about the kids last night. They're going to win a national championship the next year, 2 or 3. Fucking think it, dude.
You're putting yourself up. Oh, linebacker, baby.
I can almost promise it. You just look at, and again, having a chance to rub apples with some of those young kids. We've come we all love J.D. Bertrand. Right? We all love him. Good project, good hell of a career, great lead, all those things. The body types that we're bringing in, completely different animals, John. These what's your rotation at 2 years from now? It's first rounder, first rounder. The talent that Marcus is bringing in, especially on the defensive side, it's incredibly exciting time. I have no anxiety. I really have no anxiety. It's all
good for you, but I'm going to worry because I'm a warrior. So you could have no anxiety all you want. But I'm a Kennedy and I'm worried about everything all the time. So I'm going to worry for both of us.
Yeah, I get it. I was just thinking about, jumping in, get ready for this show. And how far Marcus has come and how kind of blessed we are to have the guy. And I talked to Greg Madison, who lives in South Bend. He's at Ohio State, Michigan. And he gets to come to practice. So he's retired now, and he's a boy. what these guys have in Marcus, and Coach Madison was a world-class recruiter, world-class. And he just, if he had something bad to say about Marcus, he would tell me, and he doesn't. So, I mean, Marcus isn't going to be here forever. But we're incredibly blessed to have. I mean, sky's the limit.
Here's what interests me about that. You are a little hesitant at the beginning with Marcus, and you were very open about certain things that caused you a little anxiety around the beginning of the Freeman era. And you spoke about them, and we spoke about them. Slowly but surely, Marcus has earned your trust and earned your respect on the field and the off the field stuff. You've even mentioned how he's better at handling the media, handling speaking, motivational stuff. Like your journey with Marcus has come a long way. I feel like you've grown a lot.
He did a lot of, I think he made some boneheaded decisions earlier this year, and God bless him. He's the first time at coach, and he's young as hell. He's young as hell, but I mean, you were always excited about like his intrinsic, characteristics, like his persona, his character, his action. All that's going to the forefront. I think it all changed that with the Northern Illinois loss. I said it multiple times. I think he had a man in the mirror moment, and he kind of leaned into himself. He's just done amazing. And even now, like with recruiting, I think he switched it up with recruiting. He's taking a different approach. He's kind of slow playing the recruiting. I mean, we're blessed to have him, dude. I'm just telling you, all things Marcus Freeman feels good.
Yeah, he's come a long way, and I feel like year 3, it's a big historical year for Notre Dame coaches. What are you going to do in year 3? How are you going to, what are you going to do? He's got skins on the wall now. There are wings to lean on. Did you see what Riley Leonard said? Marcus said him in the meeting after the loss today. Did you see that?
Of course I did.
Of course you did. You did. It was awesome. Because that's a real moment for the coach. Like, how are you going to handle when you are you going to roll the roof out there? Are you going to go and bring back? And the guy had his legs kicked up, calm as a cucumber.
Give him a piece of candy. That's up. I love it. It's funny being here with my old teammates. Like in our we were all scared of our coaches. I mean, we were terrified to make a mistake. It's a different generation of coach, a different generation of kid. But like I said, I watched that Here Come the Irish podcast, and it's on a panel, Marcus with the young kids. And the way he is with those players, I mean, it's something. I mean, you could just see it. It's like, you've got to put yourself in the mind of a recruit. Like, I know money matters. I know location. All these things factor into being recruited. But at face value, who doesn't want to fucking play for that guy? Let's be honest about it.
Yeah. They got it going, and we're going to see allegedly the next month and a half supposed to be a good recruiting. And it does feel like they were behind. You lose Chad to USC. It took you like a month to get to fill those roles. Now everybody's in place. They're able to get out there and really grind it out. And I'm here in the next month and a half to be a really, really good handle on recruiting. We're going to see it happens. Then again, verbal commits. We've lost a bunch of it. That's the number one thing they got to figure out. How do you not lose the top guys of your recruiting class, get coached at the last minute? Always burn Marcus in all these classes. You got to figure out part of this out. Whether you change the timing, whatever you want to do.
I think that's what we're seeing when I talk about the long sale of these kids. They're not rushing to get a commitment. They've changed their, and again, I think we've got the NIL thing. I learned a lot about NIL. Talked to somebody on the monogram board last night, so we'll talk about that on Paycheck. I guess it's just a totally different era, dude. And Pete Hawk was meeting the monogram board, and he's wide open, dude. You understand? It's wide open. And that's not Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So to be fully transparent, it's not Notre Dame. It's just a different vibe. It's how kind of top down.
Yeah, I talk about this a lot. The administrative part of Notre Dame is something that I have a lot of interest in. Notre Dame is shaking Notre Dame now. You have a young-ish president a younger AD and a young head coach. And it's the first time in my life that I've seen all three tiers of recruiting leadership line up a lot modern with a modern viewpoint. And I think they're all pulling from the same end of the rope, and it matters at a place like Notre Dame. That matters. All of those together.
I'm just telling you, internally, and a lot of experts would be in complete agreement. It is less stuffy. It's less wine and cheese. It's more hard. It's lighthearted. You know, it's such a welcome change to a program like this that we needed to have.
It did need to happen. There's a spark that we have not had in a long time. Brian Kelly had a stable culture, but it lacked the spark at the end, and
there's no fun. Yeah, we talk about. That's how I sort of built having it brand was like when we were playing these big games, the kids played hesitant, they played reserve, they're afraid to make a mistake. Going back to the Northern Holocaust, Ronnie goes to visit next week. It's a completely fucking different vibe. The kids aren't afraid to make mistakes, but they're fresh and they're having fun. That's brand new, dude, for Notre Dame football. It's brand new.
Yeah, and you can feel the whole sense in the energy, in the vibe. You can feel it, and I think the kids feed off it. You can tell that the kids enjoy that. It brings them up to just go play, let it all hang out, be themselves, be loose, go play. Mike, one more thing I want to address with you. The defensive side, we've been focusing all around the quarterbacks and the O-line and who's the quarterback going to be. I feel like an underrated story of the offseason has been a change of defensive coordinator. But it's totally overshadowed by all the offensive questions. You're a former linebacker captain at Notre Dame. What are your early impressions of the Chris Hash era at Notre Dame?
Oh, that's not good. You know, chatting up some of the kids last night. I think they're going to get a chance to actually play football. And in terms of like when I watched Norman's scheme, it was a lot of it was chess. You know, he's just moving pieces around where it's like he's almost taking their instincts out of it, especially from the linebacker position. Whereas I think Ash is going to allow these kids to read and react, you know, to sort of play out on the run versus we're going to trigger everybody. So it's just straight up man. We're going to bring pressure, late man. And say now KBA gets to actually diagnose a play and use his instincts. I think it'll be dumbed down in that regard. And then the other part is they move on defense and let these defensive line guys get cut. And then Jayhon has got to win a defensive line where you need to send an extra time. So, like I said, just getting a return to actually playing football versus playing chess is awesome.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think dumbing it down gets a bad reputation.
It doesn't sound
yeah. I get what you mean. It's maybe more simplified in a way where, like you say, you play best, you just react, you don't think, and you respond.
Let me play football. I don't need, and we say that for years. You know, so you're going to see more turnovers because zone opponents eyes on the program. And, you know, like with the ascendance of a nice shot, Marvel Jail, it's that all these edge guys. You don't need, hopefully, you don't need to bring extra. Let's just match the quarterback. So, the kids seem excited.
Yeah, they really do. Is there anything else on today that stood out to you that you wanted to talk about? I mean, they're just, listen, it was a limited format for a good reason. No, man, it is what it is.
The thing that stood out to me is like, it's spring. It's a spring game. It's a party, dude. You know, the weather's great. You know, I watched the tape, but I'm not just to extract too much from this. And I learned a lot more walking around those athletes last night than I did during the game.
Yeah. I think this staff did as good as they could with all of the limitations that they encountered this spring. It was tough. And you know, I understand now why some of these schools aren't doing these games. I get it. I get it now. When you look at this, the longest season in Notre Dame history, all the injury recoveries, I understand it now fully. I do.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you want to go over? Anybody got any questions out there? Feel free to ask them. Ask them. Yes. Michael, what do you think? What do you mean? That's that's about 1 with you, Nate. Linebacker. That's a good question. That's a good question. Okay, Larry, Ryan Roberts, top 10 sacks all time in Notre Dame. Yeah. 9.5 one season, this guy. That's a great question. What is it going to take to get us over the hump? Look at that, man, brother. Yeah, all the pieces are in place, but I think it comes down to the quarterback, dude. I mean, that's it. What about those skill guys? What do you make of the 5-5 differential between Ohio State and like 15 bucks? And we watched
the All-22 and sitting with them back last night. And this is why I started doing the film was nobody's open, everybody's open. And what is the deal? So let's watch the tape. Denbrock is scheme guys open. I mean, plenty of fouls to be made last year. We just didn't make the throws. So there's a lot of meat on that ball in the passing game, regardless of the talent at wide receiver. But this is the most optimistic I am about the wide receiver position this year. That's a nice move. That means a lot coming from you because you've been on that train about those skill players and needing more from them, especially the wide receiver room. There's no doubt. For you to have that group, that's a big deal to me. I think this year, just this year, it's a standalone year. It's more than sufficient. You have a fan still doesn't hear that, but I think it's more than sufficient.
And if you get a quarterback that's a little more naturally gifted and inclined to throw the ball around, that goes a long way.
Really?
Yeah. So good. Combine that with that run game, get the line healthy, and you're off to the races.
Absolutely, brother. Hey, I think this was fun. Hey, I got hands to shake, I got babies to kiss, and I got beers to drink. So
go for it. Listen, everybody, we want to thank everybody that came out to the tailgate, the Goolsby and Kennedy tailgate. Appreciate it. Everybody that watches on YouTube, Mike stuff, always Irish stuff. We got koozies. Everybody, if you didn't get them at the tailgate, grab the koozies. We have cards in there. Scan them and it'll bring you right talk content. Check it out if you haven't yet. Oh, there you go. He's got it. That's beautiful. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. All the support. Thank you, guys. Well done, brother. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.